The Eastern playoff action continues as we have our first of two qualification matches to go to the first ever CCL LAN, where our top 8 overall squads will face off for $25,000. My whole shift with me proper. Sorry for the extended break, but of course teams had to go through the veto process, and they have concluded that. We've got Northwood playing up against McMaster. Surprise, honestly, when it came to their win over Penn State. They find themselves within one match of potentially surprising all of College COD and maybe doing the most heroic thing we've ever seen in knocking down Northwood and qualifying for LAN in the same process proper.
Could you actually just imagine, just go there with me one time, that McMaster, who won all 3 of the respawns in that 3-1 win over Penn State, somehow can continue to find that magic happening and can somehow beat Northwood here. Again, hard stacked against him, Alan, but I'm still looking forward to it.
Well, it should be a pretty interesting series just to kind of get more of a look at this McMaster squad. So we'll kind of frame these two teams up and how this series will actually be moving from here. Again, just as a reminder, not only do we have this series, but then to finish, we'll have Concord versus the winner of Bay State and St. Clair. They have not reported a map 4 yet. I imagine it's very close to being done. So I don't know if we have the ability of going to head-to-head or if we have the ability of going to maps. I'm not actually sure where exactly we're at as far as workflow is concerned for the playoffs, but we're going to go through and check out the head-to-head matchup between both of these two schools. Biggest thing here, obviously Northwood, we expect them to be top 2 in the CCL overall, but this McMaster team, kind of really proved themselves throughout stage 2. They made it into the top cut and did pretty well though they were there.
Yeah, I mean, McMaster, as far as a split 2 is concerned, finishing 7-4 versus other top cut teams is definitely, I'm sure, where we would probably expect them to finish out at. I mean, that's ahead of teams like Michigan and Brock, being able to get the better of some other teams such as Western and Stockton. But even more so than that, they've been stacked up against a lot of juggernauts as far as this entire region is concerned. That includes Davenport, Rutgers. We've also seen them at least not on VOD, but go up against Northwood and Bay State, which in recency has not gone their way, but this kind of falls in the same boat as what I was talking about with FSU. This McMaster roster, to my understanding from who I've been talking to, who I've been reaching out, keeping their nose to the books, man. They've been grinding their heart's content and has been trying to progress themselves to a position to where they can potentially put themselves in a position where they can be top 8 and see themselves at LAN.
Well, they've made a mess of the upper bracket so far, sending a number of great teams to the lower bracket, so they've at least made the road difficult for some of the perennial favorites in this Eastern region. That much is for sure. So we'll see how things unfold. We'll get to learn the Northwood roster. Obviously, we kind of already know what they are, having seen them in the last series, but just as a reminder, in case you're joining us here late and you need to get the lowdown on it, it's a heavy challenger stacked roster, head-fronted by Fame and Radial. It's part of the Ottawa duo teams of schools that were looking nasty last year, now joined by Bink and Infinite, who had been playing really well, had a pretty good showing at the Minnesota Open, top 24, I want to say, and have continued to be kind of another challenger's threat in their own right. So pretty heavy loaded roster. Not much else to say outside of the fact that we expect them to do all individually very well. But let's get to know this McMaster University roster a bit better, because this is obviously where a lot of the spotlight leans towards, is, another new challenger here for Northwood. Will this roster for maybe supplant them as maybe a favorite? We got Big Head George, Netrix, Dism, and Schneids. Again, we hadn't seen this team a lot on broadcast here proper, so it's kind of a mystery, a bit of an eye test here when it comes to this McMaster's Marauders team.
Yeah, you and I were kind of just like poking around in the digital green while we were waiting for the vetoes to come all the way through for these two teams, and it's something that we were able to immediately call upon, is that we haven't actually seen much VOD, if any at all, of this McMaster Marauder squad. I mean, whenever I'm recording the after-action reports, they've come up from time and time again, but that's only a little bit of snippets going up against some other teams they've been able to combat against. What are they going to look like when they're actually fully on battle tested? I mean, coming off of a 3-0 win versus Barry, a 3-1 win, all the respawns going in their favor against Penn State. This is going to be a very interesting turn of events to be able to see how they bounce back versus this Northwood roster, which they lost to in split number 2-3-1.
Yeah. Very fair. And who knows? I mean, you're kind of riding off a high right now. 3-0 versus Barry, 3-1 over Penn State. Let's see what this map set has to offer for us, though, as we're getting ready to dig into this one. Hard point on Tuscan, followed immediately by a search and destroy in the same location. Double dose of Berlin for the 3-4, and then Bacage for map number 5. I think the biggest thing about this Northwood team is it doesn't really matter what map they play when it comes to respawn. They can run any formation of weapons that they want. So I don't know if there really is a vulnerability anywhere on the respawn for this Northwood team. I'm kind of looking at the 2 and the 5 here for McMaster.
Yeah, I think 2 and 5 might have to be where they do find success. Again, that one map win that they were able to take over Northwood was actually their map number 2 in those 4 maps that were being played. I don't remember what that map was as far as the search and destroy was concerned, but still something that they can at least hold their heads up high over top of this best of 5 series, because you're going to get a lot of aggression coming out from Northwood. I think that much is to be certain. Maybe not a whole lot of questions about how they're going to be playing off the map, but the one thing can still loom in the air when I think about Northwood's Chris Radial on a Tuscan hardpoint. That up against, I think it was, what, Texas Nation in Season 2? Dropped somewhere near like 55 eliminations in total. Dude's absurd, knows his routes, knows his timings, and damn well has the gunny to be able to back it up.
Yeah, for sure the case. So it's going to be, I think, just for anybody difficult to find a pathway to victory just off of the map set alone. You're going to have to do something special here. And to be fair, like, I know we're in playoff time, and, you know, you have to assume that everyone's taking it with a little bit more sincerity, especially when you look at the top teams that are out there. But, you know, all it takes is a couple of just, you know, boneheaded mistakes where you're just kind of feeling too comfortable and you kind of falter and maybe do things that you're not supposed to be doing, and a team can punish you for that. So that's kind of, I think, the biggest thing here is how perfect are Northwood going to be when it comes to eliminating mistakes. And on the opposite side, if there are mistakes that are made, can McMaster identify and punish? Because when it comes down to the individuals on paper, you're always going to throw all of your eggs into the Northwood basket or the Bay State basket, or wherever it happens to be that's top 4 squad. So if you're McMaster, you need to create mistakes and take advantage of those if you can find a way to identify when they occur.
And what's the best way to be able to find those? I was talking about this briefly with the Florida State matchup just about a few minutes ago. It's one of those things that you have to utilize your tacks and your nades to such a high efficiency, especially even take this map number 1, for example, on Tuscan. If your set nades aren't on point, if they're not rehearsed, more or less, if your tacks aren't being utilized in every single life for very notable corners to where some of these Northwood players might be lurking at, if you don't check those corners, it could be a Chris Radial 3-piece. Fame could be naded out and towards the back, and you could dissuade them from holding an angle, and that could be more pressure and more space being provided for you to be able to threaten such hard points like 2 or 3. If those aren't utilized to a fine tee for McMaster, then this is going to be a very rough road for them to be able to kind of deny any sort of antics that we know Northwood are going to be looking for.
Well, apparently I bruised Bink's ego a little bit. He finished top 8 at Minnesota, and Nando finished top 16. So, sorry. I only had to casually track 96 teams. Don't mind me. I'm sorry I forgot small details.
Just do better, man.
Bink. You're lucky you're cute. Anywho, into other news. Looking at some of the updates in the lower bracket, Rebels are waiting for map number 1 to start here. Penn State is up 2-0 versus Michigan at the moment. Nothing else is reported as of yet, even individual maps. But Florida State plays Davenport. It's an 11 versus the number 12 team. That's going to be, I think, I've gotten a very good game. St. Clair plays Rutgers. There'll be, I think, a little bit of pride on the line there, as that's a matchup that brings some animosity in regards. And then Utica is actually going to be playing up against Georgia Southern after they kind of got blessed by way of forfeit, not having to have played Old Dominion, who chose not to play the bracket for some reason. So, with that said, I'm just waiting on the map to start. I hope we start. I have nothing else to say. So.
Yeah. Besides, there's just good matches. I mean, that's almost what we're expecting. If there's more things to be put on the line, I guess we could just talk about how your bracket is in shambles. My bracket is in shambles.
Everyone's
Thank you,
bracket is in shambles.
St. Clair and McMaster, for making that happen. But even for as far as our top 4s are concerned, the graphic that was put out by CCL, both of us are kind of taken by surprise. Mine's still very much so intact. Yours is in jeopardy. We already know Cash is already thrown into the blender, probably 3 stories deep out the window. And then the same can honestly be said about McCormill, depending on what happens in Florida State and Davenport as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's all I got. That's all I got, Alan.
Looks like McMaster is setting up monitor cams. So if that's the case, we're going to break. I'm not sitting around and waiting for them to set that all up. So we'll come back when map 1 is ready to go. For now, we'll send things to a break. It will be, as mentioned, Northwood, McMaster to kick us off for our first set of qualification matches, and then we'll have Bay State going up against Concord afterwards. Don't go too far. So we're good. I just, you know how it is proper. We don't know how long monitor camming is going to take, loading up Faceit and doing the hokey pokey before you're allowed to play the game. Things like that. But we're ready to go. Tuscan Hardpoint. Getting into it. Got to take advantage with tempo here if you're McMaster. Got to put some consideration to Northwood to make them feel uncomfortable. That's what I'm looking for here first.
You gotta force the respect, man. If you do not at least force the respect out of Northwood, they're just gonna completely run over you. Because, I mean, even on paper, we should assume that Northwood definitely have the better gunnies over McMaster. 1-for-1 trade. It will end up being McMaster. They do start off on at least the favorite side as far as the gunfights are concerned. Northwood starting off on that P2 side. They hit the pressure. Fame finds 2 off the rip. They're gonna get a good chunk of time here on P1.
Yeah, pretty solid so far from the quote-unquote unfavored side. Fame also starting off on 3 in a row is a major reason why this is occurring. And even though McMaster is kind of like Florida State is shooting back, they're missing out on the key moments, which is kind of that last kill to get in and actually break a hard point or break a setup, or maybe even influence the map, as we're going to chalk this back 15, apparently, if you're the Marauders, and make a play down to the south side, looking to get to P2 first. And with that opening kill into Fame, of course, the alarm bells have rang for the Timberwolves, making sure they keep spawns while also committing one more member to finishing off the scrap time. And even though McMaster's in a pretty solid spot to get onto the hard point, they want more. They want to get into these spawns and try to flip, and it's not going to be allowed to as Bink gets the double, and Radio picks things up off the bench.
It's such a big gamble, right? Again, chalking the back 15, just playing for the inevitable money hill that could be P2. You're able to at least get in there for some contested time, but the moment that you try to push through the backside, it just comes up in Northwood's favor as far as the gunfights. Now, spawns have flipped. McMaster will be in towards the back. It just comes down to being able to clean up the gunfights, of which George and Schneids are going to be able to do so in kind. Still 28 seconds left to play, and you know that the Timberwolves want to play for it.
Here comes the hit on the low ground. Good initial elimination from George, but nothing to follow. McMaster still wanting to zone off this Northwood break, and Schneids has actually given up an angle at the exact wrong moment. Not great stuff from that position. Bink and Fame trying to get this done just as the collective two. Dism the last one in the way, trying to finesse his life, but cannot lock down Bink. So the scrap time contested a little bit more egregiously here from Northwood, as largely the last 3 members were already worried about rotation. So the Fountain Hardpoint will open up, and of course Northwood will be here first.
We'll be here first, but you can already see what's manifesting on the bottom left side of the mini-map is that McMaster are essentially playing for those rooftop spawns. Now, they will force player number 7 of Radio to spawn over by the ruins, but you need to be able to find yourself a go button, and they're going to start funneling their way out through the fire stairs. Fame will find 3. Radio will clean up the 4. That is as clean of a kill feed as you could ask for, as 30 seconds have already been soaked up for Northwood here on 3.
And they've got a really good read on where this next hit from the Marauders was coming from as well, which is not good news for McMaster. Yeah, this is what things, I think, kind of come between a, making a bad problem worse, where you kind of are limited on your break attempt and you get right in where your spawns are. It's just there's not an opportunity anywhere on the map for McMaster to work with, and they have been absolutely demolished through this third hard point. Now, signs of life here. Netrix is able to get into a position to make sure Radio does not flip spawns, and you kind of hate to say it this early, but this is a must 40-plus second hard point in front of McMaster if they want to get back in this game.
It's such a hard and difficult hard point to be able to find about 40-plus seconds, right? Because you already have players like Impotent flanking around the backside of Church, already has a read on to one player, and this is actually buying 2 different players from McMaster to look towards the backside, which then forces Northwood to be able to find an opportunity through the front. The trades have to be there, and they're just not as clean as the Marauders would hope for, as the last player alive will be Fame here to be able to not only flip the spawns, but to be able to clean up 2 more kills, find themselves on a 4 spree. The break is already in.
Yeah, and once again, Fame's going to take an extra step forward to really influence and put pressure on the spawns. Oh, gosh. This is going to get out of hand very quickly if this continues, if you're McMaster. Fame on 6. He's 23-6, Andy. I mean, everyone else could just sit and spawn. He may just do fine enough in a 1v4 at the moment. He's just hidden a little bit differently. And, I mean, we're not even through the first set of hills, and he's 23-7. Like, the ability for him to break 40 in a blowout match has definitely been established.
Yeah, just trying to, imagine, a world where Fame doesn't break 30. I don't think it's going to be this one.
Oh, he'll break
McMaster,
30. It's 40 that's the number we're looking for here.
Oh. I'm just wondering if he's going to be able to even break 50. I mean, McMaster has to be able to hold on at least one of these hard points for that to at least be an opportunity, but it doesn't even seem like it's going to be the case. McMaster, even for the P5 setup, you had nobody on the ground floor. They were immediately all trying to focus over towards the rooftops, deal with the push that was coming through over by the patio side, leading off of 2, and they just get completely steamrolled. Fame's on yet another spree on 5 in a row. Radial finds 2 of his own with the Automaton, and I mean, you even have Bink just stepping outside the hardpoint, making sure that the trades come all the way through. You could not ask for a more perfect hardpoint through the first set of Northwood.
No, not at all. Wow.
Indeed.
And I think, not to downplay what's currently happening, but I think the first thing after you get through a rotation like this is you kind of have to wonder, like, what was McMaster doing versus Penn State, right? Like, how do they win all 3 respawns versus this Penn State team when they can't get through Fame, right? Like, I think that's where everyone's mind is going to go to. Is it Fame is just that good? Or is McMaster just not able to play Tuscan at the same level to the maps that they played Penn State? Of course, we don't have that information, but my goodness, for a team that beat a good Penn State team on 3 respawns to come out here and beat down 160 points through 1 rotation, it's just surprising.
I mean, dude, Infinite's 6-9 with 34 seconds of hard points on. Like, he's having himself a laugh as everybody else is just finding every single gunfight. More importantly, like, I mean, Fame is just winning every single gunfight, hits you, finds yet another one. The setup just too pristine. They have the favorite side of the map going in towards the rotation again, and to at least go back towards that conversation now. And I think it might still say something more about Penn State. Again, we don't have the VOD, we don't have the immediate information, but all I can tell you is that Northwood, I mean, they're 30 seconds away from closing out this opening hardpoint on Tuscan, and we haven't even touched P2 in the second set.
Yeah. Well, there's kill number 30 for Fame. Not yet. Maybe.
Nope.
No.
Oh,
Still have to wait for it. Infinite, hello? Decided not to finish the kill in front of him. Put like a bullet in it. Was like, I got him. Not the case. So, okay, McMaster extend the map a little while longer with this break attempt through 2. Fame waiting for the glide bomb to come on in before he makes his move around the back, and as he does, it's 3 straight kills for the T-Wolves. Fame gonna get over the 30 margin and confirm the team wipe, and that may put us within win condition here for map number 1.
Yeah, nades already being thrown through, individual just linear push coming through from McMaster inside of Church. They all just get bullied all the way through. There is no hope. There just is nothing that they can absolutely do as Chris, again, just locks down 4 in a row. Has 1 more in through the front arches way, but the problem still arises. All of McMaster have to somehow work their way down through this ramp and be able to contest the time. To say that they had to play flawlessly at the end of P3 of the first set of hardpoints is going to be a new one for me, as Northwood put McMaster in the absolute blender, 100-point club them here on Tuscan.
Yeah. Wow. This is why this Northwood team is going to be so terrifying is, I mean, you've got 4 incredible Challengers players that have made up the identity of this entire team, and that was the win condition last year, and it was 2 out of 5, maybe I guess you could say 3 out of 5 from the year of Modern Warfare when A&M pulled through and just wiped the floor with everybody. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. I got rinsed.
Yeah, I completely bulldozed over. And again, I can't even really say that McMaster were not utilizing their ordinances, right? Like their tax and their vehicles. Because I saw those coming through. Those were quite obvious. We also saw a lot of players weak when we were watching the Timberwolves POVs. It just comes down to winning the influential gunfights. Every single crucial gunfight was won by Northwood. And again, you highlighted it coming at the end of 4, is that Fame found 2 and was constantly pushing that much further forward. With an automaton, no less. Yeah, there were a couple times where Fame ended up spawning in with an MP40. That's okay, but like still, the fact of the matter is that Fame just made this McMaster squad look absolutely foolish with the amount of positional advantages that they were able to fish out from each other. And that's why, again, you see the inflation of their stats, 31-13, 3,600 damage, Bink 19-7, 2,000 damage. It just felt like that when Bink, Radial, and Infinite were finally getting a gunfight, that probably meant that Fame already found 2, if not 3.
Had to have, yeah, without question. Well, I mean, we kind of said that for McMaster, your win condition was likely going to be through the search and destroy. So with that said, you stay on Tuscan, but you obviously switch the mode to the S&D. And if true, talking, I think, to regard of, you know, they're using their utility correctly, they've got good playbook setups, hopefully that will turn into the ability to win individual gunfights, because you don't win opening first blood engagements versus this Northwood team. We saw what happened versus Florida State. I mean, it was still a pretty contested Berlin search, even though the score was rather lopsided by the end of it. Every round was still close. And largely speaking, as long as Florida State were not allowing the floodgates to open, where they would lose an initial engagement and then Northwood would just continue to push forward, they were able to get it to a 1v1 largely in a lot of the rounds that we saw. So those kind of have to be conditions that have to be reiterated for McMaster. You cannot allow this map to get out of hand in the first 30 seconds.
It's just making sure that all the lanes are locked down, because there were a multitude of times that, yeah, it was a forced down or a 1v1, but most of the time, even when Florida State were finding those first bloods, it almost came down to 2v3s, 2v4s to be able to come out to be a 1v1, of which Northwood, obviously to the 6-2 scoreline, were winning more often than not.
Yeah.
It just comes down to, again, to be able to play clinical in fundamental search and destroy, because you know that Northwoods, especially with the 4 players that are represented on the Timberwolves roster, are going to be able to keep those fundamentals damn strong. They know their timings, especially in 2v2, 3v3s, 2v3 situations, to be able to exploit timings in the avenues. That'll be quite apparent and quite potent, keep in mind you here on this Tuscan search.
A little fun fact. You know what the school colors are for Northwood, officially?
You know I don't.
It's the Northwood dark blue and Northwood lighter blue.
They have, like, their own blue.
That's what it's called. It's Northwood dark blue and Northwood lighter blue. The attempt was made. I just found that funny when I was looking at where their school is from, because I didn't remember, and the Wikipedia said that. I was like, there's got to be more an official name than that. Anywho, that's just a little fun giggle facts. It's going to be McMaster feeling things out through the middle of the map, but the big problem here is look where Radial is positioned. He has cleared out all of Fire, and now Fame's going to get value off of these opening nades. Flank does fall, though, but interestingly enough, McMaster still commit into the B side, and all of these preset nades are doing their job.
Yeah, again, just miscall, mistiming. They took down Radial inside of Fire, and instead of just playing against the clock and maybe trying to rewrap, look at the middle of the map, they just still full-on flood through B, where, again, Fame just had the lockdown. And you can see immediately just a 3v2 situation. Northwood have the numbers advantage. They immediately say, hey, they didn't push all the way through B. We got Bing still left over here, so the 2 players for Northwood defensively rotate over towards A to deny this presence.
Good read here from Infinite. Scope out. No clip-worthy plays here. Fame making sure the inside of U stays contested. And even though the bomb is in hand for Dism, he's not even going to make a play to plant. He's going to hold on to the 1 kill, I guess, that he had this round. Would have been a difficult 1v3 either way, but it really, for me, just kind of comes down to the fact of you get that kill on the flank if you're McMaster, you have to delay. Create some confusion and some doubt, I think, for Northwood on their predetermined setup towards B.
Absolutely. It's like I was saying, you know, you find that 1 kill, you still had ample time on the clock to make the play happen. But, you know, although Valentine's Day was quite a few months ago at this point, I still love the commitment coming out from McMaster to still full-on flood out from B. But this does not work out, now does it? Northwood for an offense.
How long have you been sitting on that one?
I actually just kind of came up with that in my head. I'm not going to lie. I'm on one tonight.
I have questions. I don't know if I want answers.
No, you don't.
No. Opening set nade for McMaster does actually confirm first blood here, though, so that'll freely set the defense into a 4v3. Northwood's still happy to take a play over the middle of the map, although Metrics has also gotten a read that there are contestants through Fire, and really it's on Northwood to have to make the play here. You've got to decide what you want, and then can you actually efficiently get to either of these 2 sites?
Slow rolling their way towards BR2 players. You just kind of hold, again, if you are McMaster, make them make the play. Schneids is hard ADS looking at top patio.
That can't happen.
No, it absolutely cannot. Dism try to push through the middle of the map, gets cut down, and then, again, happen on screen. I can just already assume that Fame just absolutely snapped on the player top church. 1v3, bomb being planted. Good lunch, F-Rise.
Yeah, that's not good news. A shot? Okay. Could be a weapon collected, but George is instead... And there you go, automaton on the floor. Ah, that's okay. Didn't quite get it all the way cocked back, ready to go. And with that, Northwood go up 2-0. But yeah, this double from Fame, we're not going to see it, but it just can't happen. If you're telling me that you get first blood by way of nade and you're happy to kind of back off, you have to be okay, I think, from the mindset of let's play retake at worst, right? Like if you're going to let B stay soft, just play retake. But instead they get doubled up mid-map, and that leads to a round win for Northwood against the numbers.
Another 3v4. Fame finds 2 in the middle of the map. Northwood can't keep getting away with this. Again, you had numbers advantage. You just play for the retake. You just have to rely on Schneid to be able to hold this top truck position. What we saw Fame just kind of mantle up for. First blood again. Netrix will be able to find Bink. That is top church. Burrito does get stumped, but still walks away with the trade.
Yeah, and ooh, actually this timing allows him to kind of cut the Marauders' offense into 2 pieces. In fact, Dism wasn't feeling all that confident in his position outside of the monument, and
wow.
Yeah. It's a big wow. And it's one of those things that it's obviously very easy for us to read with the minimap in front of us and all the X-ray, but it just feels like if you're McMaster, slow down a little bit. You get these first bloods relatively cleanly. Get a feel for what the defense is doing, or on the other side, what the offense is doing, what Northwood is doing, I think we could say, just kind of collectively. And I feel like they're just kind of forcing plays forward, even though they have the opportunity and the luxury to kind of delay if they want to.
Yeah, and they keep forcing out errors that keeps getting collected by McMaster or by Northwood time and time again. It's just things that cannot be allowed. That stun was through, but you just need to be able to allow Radial to almost push all the way through, try to find that trade all off the first blood. Numbers advantage is surely a thing. As they all go for broke, Marauders thought that it was going to be a mid-map A push. The 3 players to Northwood found themselves a little bit of slight time and get through P5, planning hit B.
This 1v1 is everything, and okay, George does keep the opportunity alive for McMaster to take this 3v3 and still find a retake. Problem about this is Fame backed up after the opening nades all the way towards spawn, and he's going to read so much information. Going to give the call, nothing towards well. Challenge towards top church. There's 1, there's 2, and the 3rd is actually just below him, and George takes a couple of shots to reveal his position. Pistol out. Fame will drop it just short of a glide bomb, but the opportunity for George to make this 1v3 in technicality happen has pretty much gone out the window thanks to the clock.
Yep. Got to allocate 7.5 seconds to be able to get that defuse. Does spot 1 at range all the way by that back truck, and I mean, Northwood are just styling at this point. Again, they call the complete bluff. 3 players just rush through P5. Nobody from the Marauders were even watching it. They had all of their defensive setup over towards the A lane. And although that 1 player for Northwood threw their attacks and lethals that lane, they just backed all the way up to right where you see George spawning in at, right here. And we're just waiting for players to push all the way through for the Marauders that by the time they try to rotate all the way through, got caught in the church alley. Fame finds yet another 2-piece. Does not get that glide bomb. The Northwood are still up 4 rounds.
Yeah. And a good first blood here with mid-map control. Schneid's has gotten pretty far forward on this pillar. He would need to get a kill onto Bink here. And, I think Bink may see the weapon poking out. But George pushing out, trying to help. No, not going to work out. And now Schneid's is kind of forced to commit one way or the other thanks to the bomb being dropped, and Bink will take the double. Just not happening here for McMaster, unfortunately. And now Netrix is about to get overwhelmed from every single angle. And Northwood does what Northwood does. Dominate and go up onto map point here, 5-0 up.
Yeah, and I think, I want to give the benefit of the doubt there before the double challenge was kind of disjointed. Take down Bink over by grass, by that side door of church. That there was probably no tax in their back pocket. If there was, I'm absolutely furious, and I might rip my man bun out ahead of the CCL land. But I think it's just one of those things, again, that, you get the information, Bink is over there. You almost have to, you have to double challenge at the same time. You cannot allow any disjointed attacks to come all the way through. Otherwise, any one of these 4 players will absolutely eat you alive. 4 players strong towards the A lane, Northwood on map point.
Quickly towards A. Schneid's has pushed in towards Cubby here at mid, and none of those nades will tag him, so he's going to go completely unrevealed. And look at this play from the Marauders. 2 players already cleared out P5. This should be every bit of information you could ever want. Trades over the middle of the map are decent for the defense. But a delayed play up towards fire. Fame gets one more. Infinite will get a read. It costs him a lot of his health pool, but Netrix has been now at least made aware of. Diz him in the back, misses a timing to stop this play towards A, and this is what I would have loved to have seen from McMaster a couple of rounds ago. Just kill noise, stop making motion, and create doubt. And now that there has been some doubt created, it comes down to Dism to have to make a play forward, and Fame looks down at the dead body and say, what were you trying to do here, friend? Last one up is Netrix. It would be a 1v3. And, well, I don't know if anyone's killing Fame today.
Would be the fall on ace from Netrix. Stay alive in the search and destroy. 7.5 seconds needs to be allocated. What a stun check comes through. Netrix does not get hit by that frag grenade, but Fame is just so smart. Turns, burns, finds the flank, and then immediately just turns back around, just saying, hey, I see nothing middle of the map. Nothing's coming up through well. Surely it's coming up from my flank, Northwood. Completely shut out McMaster. Go up 2-0 in the series.
Wow. That is, oof.
Jeez.
Quite astounding. I mean, no need to pull up the endgame stats. I think we can all say the same things. Fame. Just Fame doing Fame things. That last turn on, I think, says everything we could possibly ever need to know. And as I look back over to a second monitor at the bracket, Some updates have been reported. Georgia Southern continue on their lower bracket run. They take down Utica College 3-1. Not bad from the Pioneers. Again, they got kind of blessed because of a forfeit in their opening round, but they did take a map off of Concord in their winners round 2, and also a map off of Georgia Southern. So, congrats to the Pioneers. That'll be a top 12 finish. No, I guess technically it'd be top 24 because we're not considering the West. So top 24 finish for them of the year, not bad whatsoever. And then Penn State have also 3-0'd the University of Michigan, so the Wolverines will also fall in the top 24 position. Penn State will await the winner of Florida State and Davenport. Georgia Southern awaits the winner of St. Clair and Rutgers. 2-0 this series, though, and, well, there's really not much to say. So we'll head off to the ad break here in the halfway point and come back to our control right after this. Don't go far. Well, it's all Northwood all the time here through the first 2 maps, 250 to 76, and then a 6-0 search and destroy gets us to a Berlin control. And I think the biggest question here for McMaster is, what do the rehearsal repetitions look like on what is a recent map edition, obviously, as you expect that the Northwood players individually on their challengers teams have spent a lot of time breaking down this map as a part of those cups and elite qualifier runs that a lot of them had put together. So we'll see. So McMaster will start things off, trying to get their defense going, and maybe something to talk about here, as it's really just been the domination show by Fame so far.
Good opening shots from Schneids, but at least keep Fame holding that stairwell for the time being. Of course, we'll end up finding that kill, but this should be immediately scouted out for McMaster, and it is that they are trying to go for this B zone first and foremost. Could be a little bit of a bait play. They're just causing a little bit of a ruckus, and although the Marauders are able to win the gunfights, initially Northwood immediately assault the A zone off of respawn.
Yeah, it's a really good start for McMaster. You drop 1, you completely hold off any attempts towards B, and now you've got some map positioning to work with as you try to get back in towards the difficult A zone. First tick of progress will be locked just before there is any contest, and man, McMaster would have loved to have gotten that contest because numbers-wise, they're actually holding this pretty darn nicely. Think the last one left, as he will not get the regen off. McMaster, really good start here in the control as they put themselves up 5 lives, and they've already killed off a near full minute of time already.
One tick of progress, only to speak of 40 seconds as you were already highlighting, but for Northwood, it's just battling out from your spawns, finding these players lurking in the quarters, and you might be able to see some progress going over towards A. Or you could just push all the way through the middle of the map, of which both Radial and Bank have been able to do, and now you got a little bit of split progress. That's a lot of faith that Fame's going to be able to win that one inside the A zone, and now you have such forward positioning on the map.
That's just good route making right here as Northwood continued to abuse fire. That's the biggest point. I mean, it really did look like McMaster was in a good position to lock down A, and they still had defenders towards B, but they missed the middle of the map completely, and that leads to nearly double zone success. Third tick of progress at A depleted while the third at B gets secured. And we go back to 90 seconds on the clock. The life lead has dwindled as we get to a 17v15 favoring the attack of Northwood.
One tick of progress is all that is required on the easier of the 2 zones, Alan, with a 5 life lead. And you still have Infinite in towards the backside of fire. They're not having the sexiest KD ratio, but it doesn't matter. It's more than enough ruckus. The last tick of progress gets stacked over by the A zone. Northwood, although they lost the opening gunfights, they make it look easy off the returning. They battled out from their spawn, and then they found a timing to be able to get a player over towards the B zone. Fame wins the one over by the A zone, and you got double tick progression going forward. But even more so than that, holy route spat, man. Radial just pushes all the way inside of fire, finds themselves 4 in a row, and it takes almost the entire team of the Marauders just to get Radial out of that position. From there on out, you get such superior map positioning throughout all of Berlin. It's just being able to find those trades, of which Northwood did. Big offensive win.
Yep, it's just those little things, right? I mean, this is what we talk about when it comes to if you're going to beat this Northwood team or Bay State or any of the top 4 when we start to talk about the Western region as well. You know, it's you have to create mistakes and then abuse those mistakes. And at the moment, Northwood is just not allowing that to happen. In fact, they're creating a ton of problems for McMaster, even when things start to look decent for them. Now, mid-map control for Radial, just watching everyone come off spawn. He's actually splitting the spawns north and south, so McMaster is having a hard time even getting together. Radial gets on to 5 in a row. He's having himself a map at 10-4. Infinite just waiting for gunshots as he makes an easy kill happen on the map. And, oh boy, it's just Northwood is forcing McMaster into the worst potential positions they possibly could be in.
Yeah. And this is defensive side for Northwood in a nutshell, right? I mean, you have an intrinsic spawn camp that can ensuing against the Marauders, and they are able to at least find it, but finally battling out over by that B lane, or I guess the A lane as it is for Control. And they're actually seeing some good progress over by A. Some trades coming through the middle of the map, but that second tick of progress is going to be coming through. McMaster could end up seeing an extra 60 seconds here.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good for it. Northwood's kind of giving this up, wanted to make sure that no progress at B has been made. But watch how Northwood get across the map here. As they concede already. Opening focus for Radial through B and in towards mid. In fact, he's playing for exits. This is the definition of just pushing forward on the joysticks and just run. And that creates, again, problems for McMaster, because now you're kind of low on lives. Snides is looking for an opening mid-map, but Fame is already in a high ground position, and now Northwood, again, can control where the spawns are going to occur. This is just fish in a barrel right here.
And setting up that spawn trap. Look at the way that they're set up on the map. Look at player number 4 on the minimap. Infinite is just watching the entirety of the back lane outside of Warehouse, so McMaster are able to at least recognize this. They have to push through the docks lane and try to get on the backside of Fire, but you have to deal with Bink up top. Fame through the middle of the map also finds 2. That'll reset the map entirely. 16v9, the immediate win condition here for Northwood. Of course, are the kills for the time.
I mean, there's just no route here. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's... I get it, you have to manifest something if you're McMaster, but making the play through Crane is just... It's not going to work out for you, I'll tell you that much. I don't think I've seen a single team make a play through Crane and it work out for them yet in this map. But mid-map is also difficult because you got Infinite on 5, just kind of tucked behind the train, and he's a tough trade. Finally, some help will come through, and Big Head will open up a little bit of ground to work with. Problem about it is, it's a day late, $1 short. In fact, you could argue that it's a full payment late and a month late.
Full payment late, live short? I don't know.
I guess it'd be a payment short, right? Payment short, month late.
I don't know.
Regardless, their credit score is not feeling this. Well, it's feeling this in the worst way possible. I'll say that much.
It doesn't look good at all. And again, I mean, look, Berlin Control, when it comes down to the matchup that is at hand, is absolutely going to play to the strengths of Northwood. Again, when you're thinking about the overall setup, it's kind of like a P5 spawn trap, isn't it? Like, when you are on that side of the map, you're just making sure that you lock down that docks lane. You saw Infinite just go on that spree over by the head glitch that is over by the railroad cars. And then you could just have players lurking inside of Mail over by where P5 does reside. And then McMaster, again, they have to manifest something. They have to manifest at least kills in their favor to get out of that spawn trap. And Northwood lay it on twice, 3 times, maybe even 4 times over. It's just an uphill battle that you just never really want to go up against.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Fame has made matters worse by earning his 7th elimination and a glide bomb with it. McMaster, a sound defense so far through B, but these nades are problematic. And as soon as the defense gets softened up, there goes Northwood on the move. And it will be a full team wipe and extras. Radial will catch George trying to come off spawn. He's now on 5 in a row with support and a little bit of a pitch play from Bink. And, oh, God. Oh, God. The only bit of good news here for McMaster is that it's almost over.
It's egregious evisceration that's coming through, even with the glide bomb not even finding a kill. It just continuously sets up so many opportunities. Radial finds himself a glide bomb, just makes George look like a fool outside of the statue. Good heavens. Gonna call it in immediately, convey the information. McMaster just cannot get out of their spawn on either side.
No. B's already gone. A is stopping the clock at 2 minutes and 3 seconds. But McMaster actually will get an opportunity to move forward. Again, this would be miraculous to even see a 4th round at this point with the lives the way they are and the lack of map position the way that it is. Wow.
I mean, you essentially have 2 minutes to be able to find 14 kills. They don't even care about the sick regression at all. I mean, Radial's back here on a 12 spree. And again, you just have to somehow deal with this. I mean, you can even see Netrix is outside of the B hut, is just waiting for Radial to work inside their line of sight. By the time they do that, players for the Marauders get cleaned up inside the A zone. Just the kill feed just won't stop bleeding in blue.
Wow. Wow. They may not even get 10 kills in this defensive round. And Northwood's not even stacking point. They're just playing for the eliminations. They're really letting McMaster know. Oh my God, dude. Just somebody get a trade. Thank you.
Nice 2-piece at least. Consolation 2-piece.
I don't even know if a console. I mean, that is a participation trophy 2-piece.
I don't even know if you can get a participation trophy for that one. I don't even know if you want any sort of remembrance that this map has happened. The Marauders. Well, they got past 10 kills down. They found a total of 12, but
Yeah.
I think that might be all that they're going to be able to find. And, yeah.
Oh, great heavens!
Oh, 13.
It's over. So Northwood with the win. The only real cementing statement that we can make is that turns them into the first team to qualify for the CCL Finals playoffs. 3-0 here versus McMaster. That will send McMaster straight to the lower bracket. However, that is actually straight to a qualification match as well in the lower bracket. They will play... Ooh, the winner of Georgia Southern? And then the winner of St. Clair and Rutgers. So we're waiting on the results of that one. That will be a 6 o'clock match between Georgia Southern and the winner of St. Clair Rutgers. And then they will follow up by playing the 9:30 match tomorrow versus this McMaster squad. Interesting. I don't know if anybody had any of those three schools in our caster predictions getting into the top 4. St. Clair, Rutgers, or Georgia Southern. So unique experience down there on the bottom side. For some reason, the way I just said unique, I just thought of Unique New York. Unique New York. Catch that reference? No?
No,
right.
I don't. Sorry.
Someone needs to see
That one went over
Anchorman.
my head.
It's tough.
Oh! So I mean, I haven't seen Anchorman in, like, years, all right? You think I watch anything of recency that isn't just Call of Duty Esports at this point in time? You got me all wrong.
I guess that's fair. It's worth a rewatch, though.
X.
Anchorman 2 is passable, but the first one, must see.
Masterpiece.
Well, a total of 76 points were earned by McMaster in this 3-0.
Jeez.
And you had to hit the regain button. I think for anybody, whoever were to have played Northwood in this matchup, I think it was like a situation where I think the expectations was like, okay, like we may not qualify in this match. In fact, we probably are not going to qualify in this match. So you kind of start aiming down towards just getting good rehearsal reps, have something you can watch over the film on overnight, and then be ready to go for tomorrow's qual match. Problem about that is I don't know if there's really much that McMaster can take away from rewatching over that series because they really just got beat by 2 players. They got beat by Fame, they got beat by Radial. So that's tough.
I guess if there's one thing that you can take away, you go back instead of the VOD and you just look at what Northwood did so right. And you just try to replicate it.
Yeah.
That's all I really got because, I mean, and it just running a crazy amount of routes there on Berlin. Again, I mean, Radial, I'm so happy to watch this last hurrah from Chris because he is just running through the map looking pretty darn good.
Absolutely. So with that said, we've got one more matchup here in the evening to qualify our second team out of the Eastern region. It's going to be Bay State against Concord. And the interesting thing about both of these two teams is neither of them have won a search and destroy yet today. 3-1 wins for both of them in both round 1 and round 2 of the winner's bracket. They now have a chance to face off against one another. Can Concord maybe pull off some miracle and mystery that they put together during the Modern Warfare run, being able to upset A&M for one series? They would have to do that here as Bay State comes in as the #1 overall team in the power rankings after the regular season. We'll head to a break, let the teams get through their vetoes, and hopefully not have too much of a delay as we set up for our final match of the evening. Don't go far.